At this time, we'll resume the meeting of July 20th, 2015. Councilmember Clower, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes.
Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Clower,
Here.
Councilmember Gomez,
Here.
Mayor Velasquez,
Here.
Councilmember Friend,
Present.
Councilmember Luna,
Present.
City Manager Rivera,
Present.
City Attorney Soren, Chief of Police Westrick.
Here. Thank you very much. Verification of agenda posting.
The agenda for the City Council of the City of Hollister regular meeting of July 20th was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on July 15th, 2015 at 11:55 a.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you very much. City Attorney, anything you want to report out?
Nothing to report at this time.
Thank you very much. Tonight we have a proclamation for the 2015 Stuff the Bus fundraiser. There they all are. Come on up.
The bus.
Come on this way.
Okay, you got it? Over here? Over there?
Bring the bus. Leave the bus there and come on by. Come on over here. We'll get on the bus a little later. Yeah. Whereas, a few more, okay. Whereas the United Way of San Benito County and the San Benito County Office of Education have teamed up for the third annual Stuff the Bus initiative, supplying the neediest students in San Benito County with backpacks filled with school supplies. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Hollister that this council for and on behalf of the citizens of San Benito County does hereby encourage the community to participate in 2015 Stuff the Bus and give all final donations by August 8th, 2015. It's a great program. You see a lot of them already out there. I'm sure you're going to talk about that. So thank you very much for coming out tonight.
Okay. Well, I'm Vicki Fortino from United Way of San Benito County, and this is our third year of putting on Stuff the Bus in partnership with the County Office of Education. Our goal this year is for 1,000 backpacks. We have different locations around town where if you see a bus, you can either donate backpacks or pencils or binders, whatever you want, or you can go to our website and donate $25, which will purchase a pre-filled backpack. It's about a $60 value. We have over 55% of our kids in our county that could use this help. So our goal is huge, but we're getting really close. I'll leave this with you guys. You can see we have a lot of sponsors already, and it's very easy to go online or to visit a location on this sheet or on our website. And we hope you'll support us, all of you. We hope you will. And tell your friends. Anything else?
August 8th is when we will be actually stuffing a real bus. Anybody that would like to volunteer and join us as we actually stuff the backpacks. This year they are doing it a little bit different where they've actually sent out vouchers, so kids will get the backpacks before school starts versus once school starts. So we welcome anybody from the community if you want to come down and help us. It's a fun event. It's very heartwarming because many of our students cannot afford the full backpack full of supplies. And we want access for every student the first day of school to have the access to the education that they deserve. So this is a very important endeavor in San Benito County, and we want to thank United Way as I'm coming into this being the new county superintendent, but really excited as we move forward and all the work that United Way has put together to bring this all together. So we will encourage anybody to join us and donate.
Thank you. And Batman will be there on the
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can stay the whole night. Why are you taking our bus away?
Do you want me to leave it?
How can we fill it if?
Yeah, leave it here so we can fill one up.
Okay, you got it. You got it. And there's some flyers there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to item A, consent resolution. Are there any items council would like to pull?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to pull A3, A4, and A6.
Any others?
A7.
A1.
A1 and A7. And I'd like to pull A8. Is there anybody from the council or from the audience?
Not that hasn't already been pulled.
Okay.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, 5-0 vote. Item A1.
Yes, I'd just like to make a note on number 4D that the vote went 3-2, not 3-0-2. So if we can make that
So
adjustment.
noted.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve A1 as amended.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, 5-0 vote. A3.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Did you have a question?
Actually, I just wanted for transparency and information for especially District 2. I know that there's members of the community that are watching the city council meeting, and just to give some more information, I'd like to request if you could give us some more information on that.
Yes, this item is related to the West Gateway Streetscape Beautification Plan. It started, you could say part of the genesis of that was when we were revising the zoning ordinance. Some of the feedback we heard at our workshops was we needed to calm the traffic down if we wanted a mixed-use corridor. So the redevelopment agency approved a contract in 2008, I believe, for the streetscape beautification plan. It was brought before the agency board in November of 2009 to review some concepts, and there was direction on that. Then in 2010, Governor Brown introduced legislation to abolish redevelopment. And I won't go into too much detail about it, but the bottom line is because the way the legislation was introduced, we were prohibited from doing certain activities related to this project. And then once it was passed, there was controversy over whether or not we could use bond proceeds. And then we were also barred from doing anything because of an amendment to the law. So it's taken a while to get this plan completed and then finally approved. It was approved, I believe, in August of 2013. And because we lost our redevelopment agency, we also lost the primary funding tool to complete the streetscape improvement. So if you recall, the council approved in March of this year to proceed with the Phase 1 plans and specifications for this project, taking the improvements from the bridge to Graff Road, and that will change the intersection at Graff Road from a traffic signal to a roundabout. This contract before you tonight contains peer review from traffic engineers for the design of the roundabout, and also another component of it is community education, because we recognize this is something that will be new to our community. We will also be Councilmember Luna will be hosting an open house next Thursday, July 30th at the Hollister Community Center from 6 to 7. We encourage and invite the public to come. There's a lot of different things that are happening in West Hollister, and so we'd like to share some of those with the public. And I think Abraham is going to be explaining a little bit also in Spanish for our Spanish-speaking community.
Yes, my request was also to say something in Spanish to the audience that are watching. Thank you.
Absolutely, Councilmember Luna. Members of the City Council, esto es lo que vamos el artículo número 3 de la agenda esta tarde. Se trata de un plan que se adoptó de la ciudad de Hollister para el mejoramiento del lado oeste de la ciudad de Hollister, que viene siendo desde donde está el puente de San Benito casi hasta llegar a la calle Westside Boulevard y todo el corredor de la calle San Juan Road. Entonces, un poquito de información en español también. La ciudad hizo un contrato en el 2008 con una agencia para que se hiciera un plan para mejorar este lado, este corredor, la calle San Juan Road. El 2009 se hizo este plan. Y entonces el plan era de adoptar este mejoramiento de esta calle San Juan Road con luces, praderas, muchas cosas, y ampliar un poquito banquetas. Y también un parte del plan era de remover la luz que está por la calle San Juan Road y la Graf a un círculo de tráfico. Entonces, en el 2012, el Estado de California removió todos los departamentos a través del Estado, los departamentos de reurbanización. Y el departamento de reurbanización de la ciudad de Hollister lo que hacía era proveía dineros para tratar de implementar estos cambios, este mejoramiento. Entonces ya que fue quitado de la ciudad, el Estado lo localizó ese dinero para otras fuentes como la educación y otras cosas. Entonces, como ya no tenía la ciudad dinero para mejorar este proyecto, entonces ya no se pudo hacer nada en este entonces. Pero ahora sí hay fondos en el cual la ciudad está pidiendo la fase número 1, que viene siendo el mejoramiento de la ciudad en el lado oeste, de donde está el puente hasta la calle Graf, que viene siendo donde se va a quitar la luz para poner un círculo de tráfico. Entonces, se quiere hacer un estudio con el público para llevar a cabo más información sobre estos planes que tiene la ciudad para el mejoramiento de la ciudad en el lado oeste de la ciudad. Entonces, más información sobre la fecha se va a aproximar en el distrito de la concejal Miki Solorio Luna.
Y invitamos al público el día jueves, el día 30 de julio, de las 6 a las 7 de la tarde, que vengan para escuchen y sepan bien al público de esta comunidad y de esta área, que sepan bien de lo que va a pasar en esta comunidad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a speaker.
Got a speaker?
Marty Richmond.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Marty Richmond from Hollister. As you know, I've been a long supporter of doing something about the miserable street conditions on the west side. And so if you need a traffic engineer to determine whether or not the diameter is correct for the trucks in the fire department, if the angles are correct, by all means. But we've got $6,000 and change in here for education and $3,000 possibly for a meeting. That's unreasonable. We do not need a traffic engineer for that. You could hire our nonprofits to do that and give them the money. That would buy, that $10,000 would buy 400 of these backpacks. Or you could take the money you save and you could put in more streets in the same location. You do not need that. I have 20 pages here explaining exactly how to sign and how to train people about roundabouts. This is available on the internet. It's non-copyrighted. It's by a traffic engineer. It's free. I have the DMV, half a page, that's all there is about roundabouts. Everybody who has a driver's license has it. You can use this at the schools to train school children, and you don't even need to get an official translation because it is available in Spanish, like all the other DMV publications. So why in the world would we hire a traffic engineer to make training materials? I mean, anybody with a printer can make training materials. And oh, by the way, the entire DMV instructions for how to go about a roundabout is less than a half a page. So you, on half a page, you could have it in English. On the other half a page, you could have it in Spanish, and you could put it in every water bill, and you could teach it at the school, and you can do all of that, and that altogether is not going to come to $10,000. We're paying more for the training than we are to pay for an engineer to determine that we got the road designed correctly. That doesn't make any sense at all. I think you need to take a good look at line number 2 of the contract and line number 3 of the contract, and use the money to build, to improve the street in the same area, and to sign that correctly. And the reason is, people who come from out of town will not be trained on how to use a roundabout, so they have to know how to do it. And the way they learn is by having a traffic license, a driver's license, and the second way is by having it properly signaged. There's a whole technique to signaging a roundabout so that the traffic knows where to go. And there's a whole technique in teaching the kids on bikes and the pedestrians who has the right of way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Luna?
Actually, I just want to make a motion to approve Resolution 2015-131.
Is there a second? I'll second the item. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if I have a question, I guess, on the motion.
Yes.
If I could ask that, there's a motion in a second. My question is to staff if there could be any changes to the outreach on that, because I think Mr. Rich makes a good point. I don't know about having a traffic engineer doing the outreach work is kind of interesting.
The scope of work for them was to prepare a video, to prepare a media packet, and to prepare slides. We thought it might be a good idea to have some slides at Premier Cinema. These are the professionals. These are, I think, from when I took traffic engineering, liability was a huge issue. That the reason we want this is we want the public to be safe. I understand you can download some things from the internet, but this is what they do.
Okay, so what was the expense again? I'm sorry.
It's there's a media packet for, it also includes print ads, TV ads, a
And what was
video
the
that could be, we talked to the hospitals, also the hospital clinics. There would be preparation of a video that could be used. And this is something that is going to be more generic and won't be specific just to that intersection, because we recognize that there are plans for more roundabouts in the city of Hollister, and this is a component of education where this could be used in other parts of the community. Could
So
be
what was the,
posted on CMAP, the video. Hazel Hawkins has agreed to play the video at their clinics.
Okay, what was the price tag on it, on that portion of it, of the contract?
For just the video?
For those outreach components?
It's $6,442. That also includes the slides.
But there's also an additional
There was an optional for a workshop that was another
$3,600.
$3,630.
Okay.
So,
Councilmember Clark?
yeah. I'm kind of conflicted on this because I do understand the safety is absolutely the most important thing. But when I read through this packet, my feeling was that we're paying over $10,000 and somebody's probably going to press print and then they're going to send a video that they've already made and charged 10 other cities for. I think that $3,600 for, they'll probably send 2 people for a meeting is kind of ridiculous, even if you're looking at what they're getting paid, maybe $280 an hour or $300 an hour. That still doesn't make sense for $3,600.
Yeah.
So I would at least like to see that the meeting gone.
So here's, Councilmember Friends bring up a point. We already had the motion, the second, so now we have to vote
No, there could be
You
a
can amend
discussion
it.
after, there could be a discussion after the second.
Sure.
Yeah.
After the second? That's
That is-
correct, okay. Continue.
So the 3 in compensation is 6442. They're actually going to pay to put it in the movie theaters. They're going to do the outreach there because I'm just afraid that they're going to just press print on this and they're going to charge us $6,400. And I understand it's not cheap to advertise at the movie theater. I know that. So that would at least be a substance there.
Yeah, I don't think, to be honest, though, I don't think that is included in the cost, so we could,
I would agree with Councilmember Clower, and as Mr. Richmond pointed out, it's almost, I've seen the videos on how to do these roundabouts, and it is right there for everyone to see. I think it could be printed, inserted in the bills, the water bill, trash bill, for a few months, the link to the internet, and at that point, there's just so much you can do before people others understand or they don't understand it, and a lot of it's really going to come down to driving the roundabout the first few times to see it. So I don't really know how much more outreach it's going to take, and I think we've seen this before. You try to go out as much as possible, and people still tell you they've never heard about this before. So I'd rather spend the money in some printing of the mailers, the inserts, get them in those bills, with a link on the internet that shows how to do it, the video that shows how to do it, and we can get that out to the public on. And I've seen, matter of fact, I've seen it on Facebook here locally. Somebody posted the link to show how to use the roundabout. So I think rather than spending the $10,000 in that area, we can put that to better use. Any other questions from anyone? Councilmember Luna?
Yeah, and my concern was that not everybody has a computer in this community, especially on the west side. And if we're going to educate people, then, you know what, calling a meeting, bringing people together, showing them, because it can be dangerous. It could be very dangerous if somebody doesn't know how to use that roundabout. I mean, where my daughter lives, she took me on that roundabout. And it was a little confusing because of the other inner traffic coming in. So it's, you know, you've got to tell people how dangerous it could be for them, especially with people knowing that they can come in through the west side, and as much as they speed through the bridge and coming into Hollister with no stoplight there any longer, then you know what, we do have to talk to people and train them. So.
That's why we shouldn't have roundabouts.
It could be.
They're really not that complicated. Once you get used to them, they find them to be pretty simple to use. It's going in a circle that confuses you the first time around. I think, you know, going back to your point, Councilmember Luna, I think that could be part of what we can do as council members is outreach, and if people have questions, set up a workshop in the community center or different areas to address
I just hope that people don't expect me to be out there in my car and they can follow me around the circle, you know, because then that's not going to be safe either.
Go ahead.
so we would appreciate some direction then. Does that mean that you,
I think we'd have to amend the motion. The motion's been made. There's been a second.
You can either vote on the motion or amend the motion.
Does
But there has to be a motion to amend the
The
motion.
person,
But I think, I would recommend that the better process is to vote on the motion at this time.
okay. All right, at this time, all in favor? Against?
No.
Aye. All right, let's try this again, or do we need to bring this back at a,
We can vote on it again.
So if there's something that's substantively different than what you have pending, then it's something that you can bring back for further discussion. If it's something that you can entertain at this time, if it pertains to a change to the proposed motion, then that's something that could be entertained.
I believe the issue is those dollars.
So it's,
What option could be to approve the contract with the elimination of the workshop as a task that would be funded and paid, that would be something that would be administered by staff, but the consultant would still prepare the media packet and the video and the slides that would be used as part of the education?
Well, I think in the contract, the option was task 4. I think we all agree that's a no-go, or I think most of us. I think what we were just speaking on was the item 3, the community educational materials for 6442, I believe was more of the concern that we felt, or majority of us here felt, was not needed. So again, from council, are you recommending bring it back at a future meeting?
well, there could be a proposal to approve it with a deletion of task number 3. However, that's something that would have to be negotiated with the
vendor first.
The vendor.
Okay, why don't we bring this back in a future meeting? We do this.
And I'd just like to clarify, you want no consulting services for education?
The educational materials. Item 3 and optional task 4 is something we're not too keen on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Mayor, just for clarification for the record, that was, everyone voted no except Mickey.
That's right, Councilmember Lena. So 1-4 vote. All right.
Item number 4.
And we'll go on to item A4.
Good evening. Do you have any questions about A4?
Actually,
I just brought it up because I wanted some clarification on it in regards to the incentive pay. If you can just clarify what
Okay.
the resolution is about.
Okay, and then a resolution was brought to you, I think in 2014, changing the incentive pay for reserve firefighters that worked in San Juan Bautista only to $100 a shift or $175 if they drove. And the firefighters that worked at stations 1 or 2 got $75 a shift, so there was a disparity there. The idea of that resolution was that it would be no cost to the city of Hollister because the city of San Juan Bautista was going to pay that extra stipend to encourage firefighters to work in San Juan Bautista. However, no resolution was ever brought to the San Juan Bautista City Council. They never passed a resolution, and they haven't been paying that amount. So that amount's been paid for out of our budget. And so what we're doing is we're changing the reserve pay to more encourage reserve firefighters to work more often. And how we're doing that is to pay them a stipend of $240 for a 24-hour shift each quarter. If they work any other shifts in that quarter, they'd only get $100. And for any other callbacks, like for emergencies or training or for working the rally or anything like that, they would get a base pay of $10 an hour. It really comes down to, we were paying $75 for a 24-hour shift in Hollister, which is $3 an hour, to go out and fight fires. And this is more in line with minimum wage, is what it amounts to. And we'll encourage reserves to work more often. And the money's already in the budget for temporary salaries.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from the public?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Is there a motion?
So move.
Sure. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item A6.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Brett's coming up. My question was that I know that it says low-income senior citizens, 25%. I realize that a lot of the senior citizens, would not qualify for this
Correct.
type of discount.
Correct. This was, anytime you subsidize like a water fee or sewer, that subsidy has to be made up with some other revenue source. And for the city, it's always been the general fund. So council can come up with the senior programs they want, but anytime you make any kind of subsidy or rate change, it has to be made up with another funding source.
Okay, and do you have a number as to how many senior citizens are taking advantage of that throughout the city?
Correct. Right now, we have approximately 323 individuals using that senior discount right now.
Okay, and the only way they can qualify through that, but for that would be by qualifying for the PG&E?
Correct. PG&E or the Lifeline from the...
Or Lifeline. Okay. That was my question.
That's
Thank
it?
you.
Okay. Do we have any comments from the
No, Mr. Mayor.
audience? All right. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval of Resolution 2015-134.
I'll second it.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Councilmember Gomez abstained or missed the vote. Let's move forward to item A7.
Yeah, I have some questions about that.
Sure, and before we get started, I have I was asked this afternoon to gather some information, and so I'd like to make sure everybody has that on the council. Thank you. All right, so there's a couple things on this that we're looking at, and had the council not pulled this item, I would have asked for it to be pulled because we had a clerical error, typographical error that listed on the change order. It listed an incorrect number where it says original or previous contract price. The previous number that was listed was $449,999. The real original contract price is $494,999. The change to the contract price has not changed. It is still $114,155. The new contract price after approval would be $609,154. But with this item, with this contract change order number 1, we'll approve an amendment to the Wattis Construction Project, who is the asphalt contractor for Sierra Vista between Sunny Slope and Union Road. In order to add to that contract, this is the process that needs to be done. But with this change order, we'll do a 3-inch inlay, because we're taking a bunch of asphalt out and replacing it at the intersection of Nash Road and San Benito Street. And we had TJKM was contracted to prepare the plans for that, with the intent of going out to bid at a later date. We took the opportunity to utilize Wattis and do a contract change order to ask them give us a proposal. It was reviewed and deemed to be acceptable. We will be able to get this intersection redone prior to the high school starting, which is one of the big goals for getting that road, that intersection fixed. So you'll get rid of the rumbling, new surface, and essentially get it all done prior to the high school starting. It will also be done between the time when summer school ends and when the high school starts, and there's a 2-week period in there. So, questions?
So the original contract that we approved in May had nothing in it about the Nash Road intersection.
That's correct.
So this 20% change order is for one intersection to be added to the original contract.
That's correct.
So just for clarification, let's make sure everyone understands the 494,000 was for the repair of Sarah Vista Road. The additional 114,000 would be for the interchange at San Benito and Nash.
Yes, if it was an interchange, but it is an intersection.
intersection.
And it is quite a bit of work with quite a bit of traffic control that needs to be done.
Which should have been done before we took the Highway 25 back from Caltrans, but we let that slide.
That's, yeah.
No,
That's a 5-hour discussion.
I carry a grudge. I like it.
Okay, and
We all
what I-
carry that same grudge.
Yeah, and what I passed out to you is an email to Mr. Rivera and Councilman Clower. I was asked to get some kind of a breakdown on what that $114,000 would do, or what it includes. But it includes it was a lump sum proposal. So I called the project manager estimator for Wattis Construction, talked to him on the phone. He gave me the numbers that material, labor, and equipment. The 60% material, 30% labor, and 10% equipment brings it to the $114,000. There's very important things to need to remember is that it is a heavy traffic control item. There is a lot of asphalt that needs to be taken out. Mobilization, there's striping that needs to be redone, and there is electrical, which the traffic loops need to be all redone for that intersection. It includes a grinder, trucking, dump fees, asphalt, traffic control, inlet protection, and with my discussion with him, I asked him the question: if we did not do this work as a change order, and we put it back out to bid, what would he expect? He would expect that we'd be paying upwards of 20 to 25% more than with this contract change order. So we'd be adding another $20,000 to $25,000 on this. And the big reason is this is a very small job. It's a project that asphalt contractors, pavers, they're really not going to want to do. So they're going to throw a premium on the project. They're going to do something that will make it worth their while, because for them, putting down a lot of tonnage of asphalt, in even the amount of asphalt put down for Sierra Vista was considered a small amount. That was one of the reasons we have that, the price that we did. But if we were to overlay 2 or 3 miles of street, yeah, the cost of asphalt would be down because of the unit costs and the efficiency involved with putting down a lot of product. And then there's the added cost of putting the staff time, putting it out to bid, and doing through the whole process, which is estimated about $10,000 for us to do that work. Then again, this does allow us to get it done during the high school. If we put it out to bid again, it would not allow us to get it done before the high school starts, and we would have to find a window so that we can do the work, around the high school schedule.
Okay. Councilmember Luna?
Yeah, in your, Dave, in your layout of work, the traffic control, it says 2-day shutdown.
Yes, and because it will take about 1 day for them to grind the asphalt out, because what they're going to do is and this is what the design was, they're going to grind out about 3 inches of the asphalt, get rid of the bad asphalt that needs to be removed, pavement fabric, and then the next day they'll come in and actually repave, put 3 inches of asphalt in. So it does take 2 days. There will be additional short closings as striping gets put down and as the loops come, get put in. But the electrical subcontractor and the striper, they're very adept at doing those shutdowns in a minimal amount of time.
Is there any day of the week that you're thinking about this? And I'm hoping it isn't on a Friday.
No, we would not want it done on a Friday. We would expect that it will be done the first part of a week. So, possibly on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday. So those are all things that the contractor probably move stuff, equipment to the site, one day, grind, and then pave the next day. But it is important that we give them enough time to do the right job. Definitely would try and keep them away from Fridays. That is a busy day and people coming and going, and we definitely don't want to have it closed down during the weekend, as we have much more people that don't understand the road network in the city going
Actually,
through.
yeah, there's a lot of traffic there actually going up to the Hollister Hills Park
Yes.
on that day. Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions from council? Do we have any speaker cards? Just again, for a little more, no, clarification, this is actually not just right at the intersection, but it's 100 feet, am I understanding, each side?
It's 80 to 100 feet on 3 legs of the intersection, because the Nash leg, which is the west leg, was recently repaved. And so, the idea is to stop the grinding right before the repaving was done. And that was done about 5-6 years ago, and it's still in really good shape. So we're not going to take out what is already in good condition.
Right. As we work towards the improvements on San Benito Street in September, are we laying any asphalt, or is it just slurry?
The asphalt, or the improvements for the restriping of San Benito Street, it's proposed for a slurry seal, not a repaving.
So there would be no grinding going on
There
that?
shouldn't be any grinding going on. It's once the project is ready to go, it's a slurry seal. Come back in after the slurry has a chance to cure, so that the thermoplastic will adhere to the asphalt and not pull it back up. Because if you go too quick, then you have the problems of it breaking away what you just put down. So after it cures, maybe about a week, weather like this might be even shorter, then the striping will go down, and the other miscellaneous improvements will be done.
So the real issue we have here, it's such a small job. There's no way to get a better price on it, because the larger companies don't want to really be.
It's,
messing around
we
with
normally get 5 or 6 contractors bidding
Right.
on a project like, on a project like for the Sierra Vista. We got 2, and the reason is because our economy is getting better all around us.
Right.
And so a lot of the contractors are working all around us. We have, subdividers building roads and subdivisions, but there's a lot of public works projects and a lot of other subdivisions going on in the cities around us, and it's, really it's very difficult to get contractors in for small jobs.
All right, thank you very much. Is there a motion?
That answered my question. I make a motion that we approve A7.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries, 5-0 vote. Thank you very much. Move forward with item A8.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item before you tonight is to ask authorization and direction for staff to make LAFCO applications for out-of-jurisdiction services to 2 properties that are within what we'll call the Hollister Urban Area Water and Wastewater Management Plan. If you'll recall, part of the program for building the sewer treatment plant way back when was to establish a regional plant that would serve an area much greater than the size of the city of Hollister. If you'll recall, the city of Hollister produces, back then it was probably right around 2.3 million gallons of effluent a day. The plant was designed to nearly 5 million gallons in anticipation anticipation of being able to serve several projects and/or properties greater than the city of Hollister's city limits. About 2 years ago, I guess it was, the city went to LAFCO to have that urban area master plan adopted and tried to have those boundaries just established. We got LAFCO approval. The new executive director, Bob Braitman, felt that the actions that LAFCO had taken back then were not adequate. So we tried again about 6 months ago, I guess it was, and we failed again. So what we decided that if you can't beat them, join them. And so what we'll do is, as properties or property owners and/or developers seek to have the city serve their projects with sewer, we will come to you, ask for the direction. We'll go to LAFCO and go through the standard sort of process of out of jurisdiction services for those individual properties. Any of the properties that we will bring to you to ask for to forward will most definitely be in the project area that was contemplated by the original CEQA document. We will be using that document to as part of the application process to LAFCO. So there really shouldn't be any reason other than there shouldn't be a reason for denial. Again, it's just going through the process and making sure we comply with the LAFCO law as Executive Director Braitman sort of insists. So with that, if there's any questions, Abraham is here. I believe we may have a map that we can show you of the actual boundary of the proposed, or the district that, for lack of a better term, it actually is. It's hard, maybe a little bit hard to see, but there's the red line is essentially the area. And for those that are very familiar with the city limit lines, it's probably about half of that area. Like I said, when we did the sewer treatment plant, we went through the environmental document. That whole area was contemplated to be served by the city of Hollister as part of that original MOU between the county, the water district, and Sunny Slope County Water District. So that green area is actually Sunny Slope County Water District. That's basically the Ridgemark area. The properties that we're talking about, Abraham, if you could show the Fay property right off the Sam or South Side, if you have your. Oh, you could have just used your finger. There it is, sort of in superimposed. So clearly that actually it falls in the area that's been contemplated. So again, pretty straightforward. If you have any questions.
Well, Councilmember Friend, go ahead.
I don't understand. What you just explained is not what's written in here. It says here, the application was submitted as a tentative map application to the county for 87 single-family homes, approximately 27.5 acres. The parcel is not adjacent to or located within the city limits or the city's general plan area. So the annexation is unlikely at this time. It's not likely at this time.
Annexation to the city of Hollister.
So who is paying for the piping out to these houses? Because we don't have anything out there now.
Well, the developer would be responsible for the infrastructure to get the effluent from their project to our collection system. The project developer would be paying any costs associated with the treatment, the impact fees. We would be collecting the impact fees because we are treating, and they would also be paying the user fee portion of having their effluent treated by us.
Are we collecting that, or is the county collecting it? That's a county property.
Well, we haven't actually. Santana Ranch is going to be the first project that's very similar to this. Is that it's actually a county project that the city of Hollister is serving. They're just now they're starting to complete their houses up there. So we could do one of two things. We can ask them, Sunny Slope County Water District, not to connect their water until they've come in and they've paid our sewer impact fees, or we can actually have the county collect our impact fees when they collect their impact fees. You know, they collect a fire and some other impact fees for their development, so they could actually collect it for us, and then they would remit them to us.
But I thought there was a big difference between the counties collecting fees and the fees that we collect for the hookup.
No, our collection fee, our impact fees for sewer are going to be the same regardless of where the property is.
So
It's not legal for us to charge the county a different fee for our service than it would be for our city's impact fees. There can't be a
No,
discrepancy.
what I'm saying is the county charges a different fee to the developers than we would. Because they wouldn't be hooking up to the sewer. So
Well-
how do we get our impact fees included in that?
They would collect our impact fees for us if we so choose. They can't connect to anything until they actually pay for the service. The reason why they're getting our service is like all the projects that would ever be contemplated in this area is in their CEQA documentation. That's what's always contemplated. That was sort of the whole thing about doing this regional plant, is that there isn't an alternative for treatment of sewer unless you come to our plant. The water district isn't going to allow batch plants anymore. The Regional Water Quality Control Board won't really allow it. We're trying to move away from septic systems to protect our groundwater supply. So there's no option. The only option developers have essentially in this particular area is to come to us, which means they have to pay for it. And that's exactly, again, this is why I kind of fought with LAFCO a little bit, is that you know, the city of Hollister would not have spent $120 million building a plant that's 3 times the size that we actually need if this wasn't contemplated. And that's.
I understand
yeah.
that. How long is they gonna have to connect? I mean, how long is the distance that they're gonna have to?
Actually, we actually already serve Riverside Estates, which is in Southside. There's actually a line and a pump station. I don't know if Dave is still around, or my understanding is that the line and the pump station right now currently has capacity for the development that's been submitted to the county. However, as you start to develop those other properties around it, it's likely that the pump station would have to be increased in size at some point. But again, that would be on the developer's dime, not the city of Hollister's dime.
Okay.
I pulled this item, my concern is not so much of the connection fees. I know we're going to get the connection fees. My concern is the county is approving subdivisions throughout the county, major subdivisions, without taking into account our issues we're having on the impact of the roads. We had the discussion many of times, Councilmember Gomez and I on COG, about Highway 25, putting it back on the list so we can get it improved, and yet we're getting some pushback from the county on some of these improvements. But a lot of these larger ones are being improved outside of the city, and the city is taking the brunt of the problems from it. And I think, when did San Benito County become the city of San Benito County? The county should be approving 1-acre parcels as they used to do in the past, and let the city do the subdivisions. I think if we're annexing some land in first and it's part of our city, we're moving in that direction, that's one thing. But we're seeing these being proposed throughout the county, and we have some major issues coming at us with the roads, which I'm really having a hard time getting through, as far as, again, the county understanding the impact it's going to be putting onto the city. As we know, Union Road needs some improvements to get to the 156, and everything's planned, but we're not getting it done. And we've just recently had the discussion about the county meeting us at the same sales tax rate so we can use those dollars to get some of these improvements done, and we're not making a lot of progress in that. So I'm questioning why we're going to keep allowing these other subdivisions throughout the county to get pulled in. And another example or another question I would have on that is, are these new communities having the facility districts added to it? And I don't think that they are within the county, which eventually they're going to be part of the city, and we're not going to be able to collect the monies we need to maintain our roads, our police, our fire. It's going to put a stress onto our community. I think we need to step back. The county definitely needs to step back, until they understand the consequences of approving these major subdivisions without implementing some of these fees, the correct fees, so we can get these things done. And I'm very concerned about what I'm seeing coming through the pipeline on these other developments. If we're in the city, that's one thing. I believe a lot of the buildings should be further north rather than getting more clogged up in the southern part of the county. So I think it's time we need to step back, let the county know we need some progress on these things we're talking about, so we don't end up 5 years, 10 years down the road saying, gee, we didn't see that coming. Well, I think we all see it. We know from the past, the mistakes from the past. I think it's foolish of us to be making the same mistakes. That's why I'm having a concern about it. I know the facilities are there.
I can appreciate your concern. One of the things that I would implore you to really look at, though, is that traffic, other types of issues, we need to compartmentalize from what we're actually just talking about right here. And again, one of the things that is imperative is that this is an agreement that we entered into with everybody. We've already, for lack of a better term, regardless if LAFCO accepts it or not, we've already agreed to serve county properties. You did that 10 years ago. And be that as it may, there is no other option for developers to go through other than this component. And again, we're only talking about sewer right now. I mean, I can agree and disagree all day long with a lot of other things, but in order to get them off of first base to even have those conversations about mitigations of other impacts on a community, they need to be able to say that they've got sewer capacity, or that they have sewer available.
Councilmember Clower.
So I just want to make sure that we're all talking about the same thing here, because our job's not to decide the growth in the county. That's the Board of Supervisors, and whether we agree with them or disagree with them, that's not our job. What we have to ask ourselves is, when you look at the map, when you look at the plan, should we be servicing this area with sewer system? The line's already there. So if we don't agree with a lot of the other things, that's probably another conversation. But tonight we're looking at whether or not, based on the evidence we have and the past agreements, whether or not we should allow sewer hookups in this area. And you already have a neighborhood that's been there for 15 years that's been doing it. The line's in the ground. It has capacity for the other parcels that are closer to the city limits. So when this conversation's over, I'm going to move that we approve this resolution, because to me it's kind of a simple idea. That's about it.
I appreciate your comments. The problem is, history has taught us in this county that lack of planning leads to a lot of issues in our community, and we're facing those issues directly right now. We all know how difficult it is to drive Highway 25, 156, Union Road, Fairview, and the list goes on and on and on. And yet, it might not be our business what the county's doing, but the effects of it become our business. And I'm concerned that there's a point that we really need to have that discussion and understand where we're all going. And again, yes, the infrastructure's there, but the lack of planning will be our issue in 10 years when it's annexed, and these lots don't pay for themselves. And I think we worked this out in the city where no new home will be built that does not pay for itself. These homes here, these areas will not pay for themselves, and they will eventually be part of the city, and we will be picking up the tab on them eventually. I don't want to be picking up the tab on anything county's doing. I want us to work as a partnership, city and county, but we need to understand our future and plan for it correctly, and now's the time for us to step back, look at this, and realize we need to have a larger conversation so we don't have those problems and have these, why did that get approved so long ago? Councilmember Friend?
I kind of disagree with Carson's analogy. If we don't pull back the reins, we're going to have 4 or 5 more Santa Ana Ranch coming. And it's not a couple years down the road. It's by Christmas this year, you're gonna have another 1,000 kids going to those schools that we didn't plan for. You're gonna have another 1,000 cars on Fairview that we didn't plan for. Maybe we planned for the sewer, but that was the only thing we planned for, and I think we have to use it, somehow we have to put a stop to that. I agree with what you're saying, that this is already serviceable and it's already out there, but the message needs to be, we have to stop this, or use a little more common sense on how this is put together.
Councilmember Luna?
Yes, in reading the report, the summary, this is just an extended services for the resolution that was adopted on October 3rd, 2011, right? Bill?
Yeah, for the most part, like I said, the history of it is we tried our very best to make sure that as developers developed anywhere within that red line, when they went through their environmental process, which is a completely different process than what we're talking about, they did not have to evaluate how they were going to process their effluent, because there was no other alternative than to come to the city of Hollister. And again, I think one of the things, the other big picture that the council is kind of missing is that right now, the city of Hollister, your ratepayers are carrying the tab on a $120 million plant. The more houses that you have hooked up in this area, which is what we built it for, helps make sure that we stabilize those rates. I mean, Santana Ranch, you're right, 1,000 homes times $13,000 is a lot of principal to come off of that bond. And it makes sure that we don't pay any more than what we're paying right now. As long as we generate revenue and new revenue, we are assuring ourselves, and Brett will kill me for saying this because he hates when I say assuring ourselves, that we don't have to raise sewer rates. And that's the goal here, right? Because everybody, remember in 2008 when we all thought that development was going to explode and we were going to be able to pay and we weren't going to have to pay all those outrageous rates? Well, that didn't happen until now. So that's the key thing.
Yeah, and I appreciate the comments from the mayor, but as I think back, I mean, we do have two members of the city council sitting with LAFCO and other government county agencies where I think these concerns need to be brought up at that time as well. I mean, it's good that they're brought up here because it makes us all understand better as to what services should be rendered. But at the same time, we have that working relationship with the county, and I believe that we need to inform them during the time that we meet with them as well.
I appreciate that, and it has been a major discussion at our meetings. The concern of our future are facing us right now, and it's true what our city manager is saying about our sewer system, but we don't want to pay off one debt to create the next one. Now we're talking about the expansion of Highway 25 being $300 million. That's just Highway 25. And we have Fairview, we have Union, we have several other major roads that need to be taken care of, and we need that plan. And not only that plan, but as Councilmember Friend said, what about our schools? What's going on? We already know what's happening, the growth in the city. That's been there. These have been approved for years. These are other ones that are popping up, and I think, in my opinion, it's time to just step back or have that discussion again with the county and, put the brakes on some of these developments that are causing us the issues now and in the near future. And again, my major concern, my major issue is the ongoing costs on these developments. If it's not addressed right now, we're going to be paying for it later, as we are right now throughout our city. The newer homes in the city pay their way. The others don't. I don't want to get us back into the same situation on thousands of homes being built in the county that will eventually be annexed into the city. Any other?
I have a speaker card.
Okay.
Marty Richmond.
Marty Richmond from Hollister. I can say honestly that I go to most county board of supervisors meetings. I know we have an intergovernmental committee, but here's the way I see it. Well, first of all, I think the mayor's right on principle. absolutely correct on principle. I do not like to implement those principles on an ad hoc basis. In other words, whoever happened to come up on the board, oh, let's apply it to them. I don't think we should do that. So I don't know whose property this is. I have no personal interest. But that's not the good way to do it. The good way to do it would be, do this one, sit down, write up a policy, and say, we're not doing this anymore. And the reason is, and I disagree with Councilwoman Luna, is LAFCO said no. We made an agreement. Yeah, we do it. We'll do it, and we'll do those annexes and so on and so forth. We went through the thing twice, according to the city manager. Twice we went forward with our agreement and said, here's what we said we do. We'll do it. And LAFCO said, sorry, no, thank you. Go figure out another way to do what you said you would do because we won't approve it. Excuse me. We're on the LAFCO board. Who else is on the LAFCO board? Oh, I believe the county is on the LAFCO board. You would think the county would stand up and say, wait a minute, these guys are servicing us with sewer. Why don't we do what we said we would do with them? Instead, the LAFCO board said, no, thank you. Go figure out another way to give us something. So, no, I don't believe we should do it to this property, but I believe you shouldn't do any more of them. You should sit down and get an agreement with the county, because I go to the county meetings, and the county majority of the board, not everybody on the board, the majority of the board has decided that all the development should be around the city of Hollister. 3-2 vote. Every vote, that's exactly the way it goes. 3-2. Well, if they're going to stick us with the development, and I'm for good development, and I oppose bad development, then they've got to take into account all these other factors. Because the price of the policeman will put you broke if you have to keep taking on these properties and you don't have a district tax or a Melrose tax to pay every year. We have no control over this. CalPERS healthcare went up for 2016 is already going up 21%, I believe, for San Benito County and for us. Okay, the highest in the state, 21% raise. We have no control over it whatsoever. Where do we find the money to pay the bill? We have to have either a Melrose tax or a district tax. The county knows it. They're bailing on us. They're taking their $9,500 and they put it in their pocket, and then they say, fine, now you take the houses and you supply the fire and you supply the police department and you fix that long line, that long sewer line, because we gave you a one-shot deal of $13,000 in 2015 that by 2035 is not worth half of what it was, even though the cost of doing the repair is twice or 3 times what it was. Now, we all know how this works. At some point in time, you have to say to the county, look, if you want us to take the development, fine, but you've got to supply the money. I don't believe this property is the right time to do it, but I don't believe we should do it anymore after this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Are there any other speakers?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
First of all, Mr. Mayor, I just want to say thank you for your comments. Your passion behind the overall issue, and as Marty stated, the principle, I think, is right on, and it's definitely something that we need to continue working on. I think there is some conversations that need to continue to be had. I know that Supervisor De La Cruz is back there, and I'm sure he hears this. Unfortunately, he's one of the ones that's making the right decisions when it comes to this stuff, and continues to be on the short end of the stick. With that said, I think this is something that we need to do as a city. Speaking of the impacts, I 100% agree with you, Mr. Mayor. It's sad to see that development is occurring in the unincorporated areas of the county without the proper mitigation. And with that, I'm gonna make a motion to approve item A8.
All right. There's a motion.
Second.
There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-2 vote. All right. Let's move forward. Item B, no business. C, public input. This is the time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the city council. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
Marvin Jones.
Mr. Mayor, to council members, thank you for the opportunity. Water bills came through and noticed that used a little less water than previous month or even last year. Goes along with the drought. Still noticed that the street sweeping is on our water bill. It was previous administration, before Billy's term here, that the cost to the taxpayers, to the ratepayers, doubled a few years back for sweeping the street. The way that was done, we went from a weekly sweeping of the streets to every other week. Same cost, half the service. It's been over a month since some of the areas and neighborhoods have had their street sweeper come by. 6 weeks almost. We're in the 3rd week of the new fiscal year, and I was just wondering if we had upped the or decreased the service for street sweeping again, since we hadn't been sweeping the streets, but we still got it on our water bill. Have we made any change in that?
No, sir.
So we will eventually get back to the every other week, hopefully.
I'll respond on my turn.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Heidi McDonald.
Good evening, Mayor Velasquez and council members. My name is Heidi McDonald, and I am an employee in the Public Works Department. I have lived in Hollister for 27 years and have worked for the city for 7 years. I just wanted to take this opportunity to recognize all of our city employees in the Public Works Department who recently helped pull off our Freedom Rally. These employees were responsible for working midnight through 8 a.m. for 2 full nights in order to set up the rally. Then they had to tear everything down, clean up, and open the roads on Sunday, all within 3 hours. For many of our city employees here today, a lot of the work that we do is not often easily recognized by the public. As long as the water continues to run, parks are kept clean, roads remain cleared, few of us think about the employees who make this happen. Many do not think about the skeleton crews that we have who have kept our airport, our animal shelter operating smoothly, and most wouldn't be able to recognize on site our engineers, building planners, finance employees, who all provide essential services in helping the city grow and continue to operate. And yet, when there's a broken water main, like today, and our employees were still out there when I came to this meeting, or the animal shelter isn't open when residents would like it to be, our parks are overrun by weeds and graffiti, our employees suddenly become very visible in the eyes of the public, as they are often the first to get an earful of it. No one here does the work expecting to receive thanks for the work they do. That they do it because they care about the city and they care about the work that we do to make Hollister a beautiful and desirable place to live. So I would like to ask everyone here to take a moment and give a round of applause and thanks to our city employees for all of the work that they do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynn Shipley.
Good evening, council members and Mr. Mayor. As you know, I'm Lynn Shipley. I work in the engineering department now. but I've held other jobs throughout the city, and some of you have seen me in that capacity. In my position, we fulfill the support needed to keep things efficient and keep the public happy when they come in with a gripe or grievance. And they, I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. This is not my forte. But we try to give them the correct information and be efficient and hospitable to them. Right now, the engineering department used to have, the engineering department used to have 3 support service people. Today, I'm the only one. As you can imagine, my workload has increased substantially. In addition to the normal administrative duties, I also take care of items that have been in the past the responsibility of engineers. And they're a little overwhelmed because of the new developments and stuff that we have going on. But on the other side of the coin, I also see the financial gains the city's making with these new subdivisions. The city's experiencing a respectable finance recovery because of these land developments. The SEIU members will be called to service those additions as well. For the past decade, the SEIU group's cost of living increases have been given and taken back. The first Measure T failed. We returned our increase back to the city. And then we got hit with the furloughs. We lost another 5% there. Now we're continuing to absorb the city's costs, and the paycheck that we have gotten in the past without increases is stretching our dollars to minimum budgets. The workers in SEIU have always stepped up for the city. We were the first group to come forward and help push for the sales tax measures. If you saw a city worker handing out door hangers talking to residents, it was the SEIU union members. If you got a phone call asking for your support for the city, it was SEIU union workers making those calls. We've always put the city first. We would like to have your support for a fair contract for the workers that work so hard for this city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Katie Hartman.
Good evening, council members, Mr. Mayor. My name is Katie Hartman. I've lived and worked in the city of Hollister for the last 5 years. Currently, I'm an animal control officer at the animal shelter. Our animal control department is very small. There's only 2 full-time officers, and we're lacking that 3rd full-time permanent position that we lost a few years back with the budget cuts. During my time here, I haven't seen any raises, while more and more job duties have been added to our daily lists. We do what we can to coordinate with the city and the general public to resolve problems, but we are spread so incredibly thin. We get complaints from the public constantly about being closed during certain hours, and we're really powerless to do anything about it. I'm sorry, we have a lot of temps coming through, but it's really not enough. They don't always have the proper certifications and training that they need to fulfill the same duties that we do. A couple of the job duties that we have, in addition to our normal job descriptions, we end up being our own administrative assistants. We are often kennel attendants, and we provide veterinary technician duties daily. We train and we assist the temporary workers that are there. That takes away from our main job duties. We have a small but very great group of volunteers. We also are responsible for screening and training those volunteers to help us out. There are two to three officers to cover 24-hour on-call emergency services, which means we're working through the nights and on the weekends as emergencies come up. We also have 2 to 3 officers to rotate the euthanasia duties, which is the most difficult part of our jobs, I would say, because we are all passionate animal lovers. We have to respond to the uptrend of social media, Facebook postings, which is great. It does, however, increase the amount of time it takes for us to educate and assist the public in what goes on in our department. We have a new adoption trailer unit coming, which is amazing. I can't wait. It's exciting. However, we're going to require staffing to be able to provide that service. Our work is very challenging, but we love what we do. It's why we're here. Both myself and the other animal control officer are taking care of our parents. We also have children. We're carrying more than a full load of work, and more and more, it cuts into our personal life. We struggle sometimes to meet the bottom line, supporting ourselves and our family. We've rallied for and supported Measure E. We do a lot for this city because we care about the city and the work that we do. If we can't hire additional staffing to ease our increasing workload, if this is the team that we have to work with, we'd like to at least feel that our work is recognized, that we're supported by the city. We need a fair contract that can provide us some relief, that can give us some stability to support our families so we can focus on the work we love to do without having to worry about meeting the bottom line. And I invite all of you to come and visit the shelter and see what we do every day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Warwick.
Good evening, City Council members and Mr. Mayor. I'm Mark Wyrick from SEIU 521, and I wanted to speak to an issue that is an issue that really concerns a lot of our members, which is that of the city's use of temporary workers. At this point, you know, we've seen that there's a number of temporary workers in our finance department, our city yard, airport, animal control, and I believe a number of other positions they're currently in the process of looking to hire. And we're reaching a point where if you were to look at the amount of temporary workers that are out there as well as our own workers, we're getting to a point where it's almost 1 out of 4 workers doing our represented work. And I think that the issues that this brings up is that some of these workers, you know, one in particular has been here as long as 7 years, another one as long as 5 years. And many of them have been here so long that there's been expectations for them to perform the same level of work as our permanent employees. But at the same time, they don't have any benefits, no ability to, I think, support their families in terms of health care, no job security, and no real commitment from the city on if they'll ever be considered for permanent employment. It's unfair, and their work is being taken for granted. Ultimately, where we've been trying to move in our bargaining with the city is we'd like to move to a place where temporary workers are only used to fill leaves of absences. You know, we want the city to be able to make a decision at some point on whether it values the work of their temporary workers to offer them permanent employment or not. And so, you know, we need to see a commitment from the city to value all of its frontline workers, permanent and temporary. And, you know, we think that Hollister should be a city where all of its employees can live and work with dignity, and we hope that you'll join us in pursuing and exploring long-term solutions to making this happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Louis Aguilar.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Luis Aguilar. I've been Assistant Engineer with the City of Hollister Engineering Department for 26.5 years. We know what our workers contribute to the city in terms of the work that we do day in and day out. As a city workers, we have seen less staff do more with increased demand for city services. I've seen my work increase by having, before, during the building moratorium, we are 3 engineers. And now, after the building moratorium, there's an influx of land development right now. I'm just the engineer and the city engineer. You see that I have an overwhelmed work in the engineering department. We also given a lot back financially to the city these past few years. When the city was struggling, we were the first to take the furlough. When the city was in financial crisis, we gave any further cost of living increases. When the city needed us, we took us on the burden and the cost of the city's pension plan. For almost 10 years, our wages have remained stagnant and were never recovered from the furlough increase to the city's pension plan. Meanwhile, the inflation, the cost of living in Hollister, San Benito County, and California is around 28% for a decade. We're falling behind and we're continuing to fall behind with our salaries and health benefits. Majority of our members who's making $50,000 a year 10 years ago is making less than right now because of the 28% inflation in a decade. We've done our research and look at the city's audited financial reports, and when we see the trends, the city is recovering, especially in the midst of influx of the land development within the city limits and the sphere of influence. In the bad times, our workers are the first to step up and to keep the city running. In the good times, our workers had been the last to benefit. Our morale is low, and our resentment is high. We need your support for a fair contract, and our member, mostly majority, are impacting the enterprise fund and not the general fund. We need your support to the workers who support this city. Our members are the backbone of the city's services to the community because our members work in various departments such as water department, sewer department, storm department, road, park, sweeping equipment, maintenance, finance department, planning department, engineering department, fire department, animal shelter, and airport department. Our group is the lowest paying job in the city. Please, and please, be fair with our contract. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ray Perez?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Ray Perez. I've worked for the city for going on 20 years now, and I've been in public works. I started at the street department, went to sanitation, went to water, now I'm back to Parks and Street. So I kind of done everything there. I kind of know a little bit of everything there. Just wanted to tell you guys that I am an SIEU member and on the board for negotiations. And just want to let you know that we want the council to know that we just want what's fair. You know, we're not asking for anything over and beyond, but just what's fair. And we do a lot for the city, and we've given a lot, like you've heard from other people. We've given a lot, and we're just asking for what's reasonable, nothing more. We've been bargaining for 3 months now, and we're closer to reaching an agreement that are respectful for our workers. And we get there if the city chooses to invest in our workers. And we want to do this so that we can move forward as a city and focus on providing the city the services that the city needs. But if we can't come to agreement, we're all prepared as union members to do what it takes to get a fair contract. And we're asking the council to please help support us in getting a fair contract so we can all go back and do what we do best, and that's keeping the city running. And we just want to get this done, and I really appreciate you guys just listening to us, and thank you.
Thank you.
Chuck Mullaney?
Okay, those pictures are for the next speaker that comes up. That's not for me. All right. All right, my name is Chuck Mullaney. I'm CEO at Advantage Trust. We have been building trusses at 2025 San Juan Road for about 15 years. About 2 years ago, the city of Hollister made a decision to force all homeless people and drug addicts out of the city and onto the riverbank next to Advantage Trust property. All right, in the beginning, we started noticing a few stolen items about once or twice a week. In the last 6 months, the thefts have increased exponentially. We have called the county sheriff many times, and we currently have an open case. There's really nothing, and the police said there's really nothing they can do. So we decided to hire a night watchman and move the mobile home onto our property at Advantage Trust's expense and hooked it up to our septic system. The environmental people came out and inspected the property and told us we had to unhook it. I explained to them the reasons for having the mobile home there. They replied that to unhook it, or we would take $250 a day fine. Okay, I told them that that was fine. I would unhook it and run the line out to the river to meet with approximately 50, 100 people you have out there, and that's only one person. And so we're going to run into the riverbed, our system. All right, so this is just a sample response the city has regarding the homeless encampment. In a perfect world, the city of Hollister should have learned from the city of San Jose and would have never allowed this to happen and moved the people out of there by now. From our conversation with the government authorities, moving them out would take 1.5 to 2 years. That is unacceptable. Meanwhile, Advantage Trust Company is losing thousands of dollars every month, having to hire people to watch our property and solve a solution to our problems. Now, number one is the city of Hollister should reimburse Advantage Trusts for our losses. Number two, the city of Hollister should hire police to stay on our property from sundown to sun up, because that's when the drug people are coming in. And the people we hired all they can do is run them off, and they've had many conferences and many confrontations, and that's just not. And what do? We run them off. They come back the next night, and that's not very good. All right, and so number three was beside the riverbank. We think you should put up the porta potties, running water, and trash receptacles so as not to destroy the environment. I mean, if the environmental people are going to come in and make us shut down, that's cool, make us shut down our septic system, then that's not fair. Okay, and number six, in conclusion, if the city of Hollister cannot or will not attempt to resolve this problem, we have no option but to proceed with a lawsuit. Okay? Any question?
We can't respond to you.
All right, cool.
Thank you very much.
All right, but what we want to do is we want to be put on the agenda because we have pictures and proof of everything that's been happening, to us over there.
Thank you.
Lori Woodall.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Lori Woodall. I live in the county of San Benito, across the street from the city of Hollister. I volunteered this year at the Hollister Air Show. My friends, John Wogamont and Gail Barberry, told me they were interested in volunteering, but they did not have a computer and they did not know how else to sign up. I offered to assist them with this, and the three of us submitted our applications at the same time. Within a few days, I received an email thanking me for volunteering and letting me know where I was assigned. However, John and Gail also received emails to my email address, but theirs stated, all of our volunteer positions are filled and you were not successful. I am appalled at the manner in which they were turned away. These are thinking, feeling individuals who are part of this community and do their best to contribute as much as they can, but because they are socioeconomically disadvantaged and identify with the homeless community, they were singled out and turned away. It is beyond outrageous. They were told in writing they were not successful. In my opinion, and speaking as a public service servant myself, the handling of this situation by a representative of the city of Hollister is despicable. It is far below the standard of any public servant and should never be allowed to happen again. Public service is a noble calling. People who do it must always remember who they serve. It is inappropriate to use that seat for any other purpose. And I'm sorry that your other Hollister City people were not here for me to say that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
May I leave? I have copies of the emails.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Leave a
okay.
copy and they'll
Thank you.
put it on the record. Thank you very much.
Marty Richmond?
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of City Council. I hope you enjoyed your 4th of July holiday. I enjoyed mine. I always go out to watch the fireworks, but unfortunately some people who are reckless also went out and did fireworks and wound up costing us God knows how many dollars and seriously injuring some people. And when you talk to them about it, they're indignant. Oh, well, that's kind of my lifestyle. Well, I'm at the DS, so I can't tell them what to do with their lifestyle. They don't know anything about explosives, and I don't normally come up here. I have a lot of opinions, but I don't normally brag, but I'm an expert in explosives. Until you've seen somebody with their hand blown off, and I've seen people with their hand blown off, or seen somebody with their face gone, and I've seen people with their face gone. You don't know what explosives can do. We had a professional football player lost his finger during the 4th of July, if you've all been watching that thing, And people every year get hurt. Now, if you are determined to do risky business in a populated area, you should go to jail. And if you just are determined to do risky business because you can't live without it, for God's sake, take your illegal explosives, go out in the middle of nowhere, and just blow yourself up and see if I care. I don't, okay? Kill yourself, that's fine with me. You own your own life. But don't go around killing all the kids in the neighborhood. That's irresponsible. It's criminal. And we have got to clamp down on it. I understand we don't have unlimited resources. But if we find people who are doing it, we ought to fine them and we ought to prosecute them because they are taking their lives in their hands, which I don't care about, but the problem is they're taking their neighbors' lives in their hands and they're taking the property that belongs to other people in their hands. Because these bottle rockets during a drought like this are just asking for trouble. They wind up in somebody's grass, dry grass, and you wind up with a burned up home. And they wind up on people's roofs, and you wind up, we've seen it before, with big holes in the roof where it burned through. And sometimes if the kids are sleeping, you wind up with dead children. So I hope the city council in the future will try to set it up using the resources we can afford to identify people who are doing this and to prosecute them at the full extent of the law. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Steve Carter?
Just don't touch the microphone. Can I move it here? Try to follow orders. Steve Carter, I live in Gilroy. I'm a 19-year tenant out at the Hollister Airport, so I've been there quite a long time. I'm a tenant of the old Weatherly building, which is somewhat substandard, but we all sort of tolerate it and put up with it and patch it up and fix things. In any event, I got evicted from the airport, and I sent you all an email. I'm going to read it to you. I'd like to put this on the record. I'm going to be asking for an agenda item to discuss this further, and I've got quite a bit of information I've developed in regard to this. I would like to formally appeal the eviction I received from the old Weatherly building at the Hollister Airport. I have been a tenant at the airport for approximately 19 years without incident, and I find this unilateral and vindictive action on the part of Mike Chambliss to be at a minimum disturbing. I've done some investigation into what appears to have transpired leading up to this City of Hollister sanctioned move. It's on Hollister stationery. Interestingly, I was never advised for a reason for being evicted after 19 years. No reason whatsoever. So Chambliss signs a letter evicting me and telling me to leave my shop in 30 days, and it was a typo. It should have been 60. There was no transparency in this process whatsoever. There was no investigation. There was no asking for the other side. Just nothing. No interest in what the facts really were. What it was a verbal altercation between two of us in the building that are friends. We've been friends for many years. It developed into and the problem was a code issue really with a hanger. The circuit breaker panel there is very old, and the circuit breakers are non-functional for my portion of the hanger. I lost power. I discussed this with the gentleman, and he didn't back off. He just kept saying the same thing over and over to me. I was in a hurry. We got into a verbal altercation, I think probably both of us regret. In any event, I think what happened is he accused me to the Hollister Airport manager, he accused me of physicality, that I hit him. Well, there was never an investigation. There was never a police report done. Nothing was ever done. The next thing that happens is I get evicted. So I'm friends with a lot of people at the airport, a lot of the old timers. So I determined what happened behind the scenes, and I was accused of being physical with this individual, which did not happen. So I would like to get an agenda item to further develop this and explain to you and answer your questions as to what really took place out there and what you've got in terms of an airport manager. I also contacted the FAA about this. They're interested. When you accept federal funds, and that airport accepts federal funds and has received grant money, you have a large number of stipulations you have to abide by. In particular, in this case, Chambliss makes a unilateral decision that this other gentleman was telling him the truth, never asked me. He evicts me, and he does not evict the other person. So that the FAA calls that equitable treatment. That's right in the stipulations for accepting federal money for that airport out there. So they're interested in this. There's going to be a complaint filed, and I would like to further develop this and get a formal agenda item. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
James Blotcher.
Bless you.
Hi, Mayor and City Council. My name is James Blocker. I'm from Gilroy, and I would like to address you about the same issue that Chuck Maloney talked to you, which is the owner of the trust company out at 2025 San Juan Road. And as can be seen from the tone of Chuck, he's obviously frustrated at the losses his company has suffered over the last year and a half or so from the homeless encampment on the river. The situation is actually doubly frustrating as the enforcement of the regulations and codes are selectively applied. The San Benito River was specifically referenced as part of the original mitigation for construction of our metal building. Included among the original mitigation measures was a recommendation that there be no fence along the 1,000 feet or so of frontage that we have with the San Benito River. So along the edge of our property, there's 1,000 feet there that originally they asked that there be no fence. And after Chuck talked to them, compromised and said, we'll allow a fence, but it'll be 1.5 feet off the ground. Needless to say, a fence that starts 1.5 feet off the ground is not a really effective fence. To reduce our impact on the river, items such as sewer, lighting, drainage, driveways, and many other issues were addressed. All of these changes were added expenses to the construction of the building. There is a long list of code violations with allowing people to live in this river, and they are living in that river right below us. The closest structure is literally 20 feet from the edge of that fence, and then across the river is a whole nother set of structures off of there. We are asking the City of Hollister to enforce the same regulations the property owners and business owners are subject to or mitigate the effects of allowing these people to live in the river. The only truly effective mitigation we feel would be an officer assigned to patrol these properties in non-work hours. It's almost impossible at this point for us to secure that long a stretch out there, especially given the codes and such that we would have to abide by to make some changes, because we have this whole additional burden of being along this river, which entails a whole bunch of other environmental impacts and that kind of thing. So it's not easy to do things like lighting and that kind of stuff, because all of those issues become then subject for interpretation and that kind of thing. So we're somewhat stuck with what we have there. And this homeless encampment was not the result of a change in business or we did something different there. It's out of our control. So we're asking you to give us some temporary relief with this problem until the homeless shelter, which I believe you're all working on, is built in a year and a half. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There are no more speakers, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you very much. This time we'll move to item D1.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to take some of these in order. What I would recommend, maybe if Marvin can come by the office sometime. As you probably are very well aware, all of our equipment is equipped with GIS now. We can find out where people are. If there's a particular area that Mr. Jones has believed hasn't been swept in 6 or so weeks, we can certainly check that out. I don't know if Heidi is still here, but I think she has the ability to help us look at those records and find out where the sweeper has been and where it hasn't been over the past several months. In regards to some of the comments made by staff, I mean, obviously I won't get involved in contract negotiations, but I can tell you that the one thing I will say is this, is that not that I was up all night with them all the nights before the rally, because I certainly wasn't, but I was up a little bit with them, and you should be very, very proud of those guys. They work very hard the couple nights before the rally, and certainly during the rally, you see them running around like chicken with their head cut off, and then at the end. I also want to thank Dave and his group of officers for having a relatively successful rally as well. They do a wonderful job, and I think most of the visitors for the rally had a great time. But I do want to make sure that everybody knows that at least I'm very appreciative of our Parks and Street guys and staff, and I know our water guys are probably going to be up for the next 24, 48 hours tonight on San Benito Street, because that's a pretty big break. In regards to the Advantage Trust Company, I can tell you that at least some of the actions may have been taken care of today. I know the county is looking at putting some porta potties in a dumpster out along the river. It's actually on the other side of the facility, on the east side of the river, so probably not necessarily helping you folks directly, but that is actually being taken care of as we speak, or may have happened today. With regard to the airport matter, I know that Mike has been working with legal with Brad at LG for several months on this particular thing. I can report back at the next meeting as to what happens if that is the desire of the council to have that agendized. I would be more than happy to do that. So. And I will also look into the issue about the volunteering during the air show.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move forward to item D2.
I spoke to Harry this evening. He was actually in Walnut Creek. I'm going to take 100% of the blame on making sure that he knows that it wasn't his fault that he wasn't available tonight, but it actually works out. We want to put him off until August 3rd. Just a quick update. Bids for the West Hills project were supposed to open, I think, on the 24th. They got delayed till actually the 29th. So August 3rd will be a nice time for him to give a report, because he'll be able to report exactly how the bids came in, and he is also prepared to give you a short briefing on the Chromium 6 issues that we're currently going under. So we'll reschedule him for August 3rd.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Item E1.
Good evening. And this item is the last and final action for the this year for the Landscape and Lighting District. Staff is recommending that you hold a public hearing, receive comments, questions, and provide information. And if you seem inclined to, adopt Resolution 2015-140, confirming the boundary and assessment of Landscape and Lighting District 93-1 and ordering the levy and collection of assessments for fiscal year 2015-2016. This item, generally, it's the last action that the City Council needs to take for this year. It's a process that culminates 3 or 4 months of action for the Landscape and Lighting District that we have to undertake each year. No additional properties were added this year, and we don't anticipate any additional properties being added to this Landscape Lighting District in the future, because we are now having all the new subdividers enter into the city annexation for Community Facilities District number 4. So with that, any questions?
Any questions from council? Councilmember Clark?
Yeah, I think my main question is just, is there any way to simplify this? Because it seems like it's a drain on staff time, and you're doing this every year, and we're losing money on this anyways. So there probably isn't, but it just frustrates me that we're spending money on something, we're spending time on something that's losing money, and the CFD, which is probably, it's obviously taking care of itself, and I think we're not spending nearly as much staff time on that. So it's a little puzzling that it takes so many actions from the city council and the engineering department to do something that doesn't change because no one's getting added to it.
Right, and unfortunately, this is a procedure that's outlined in the state law, and that we don't have any other recourse but to continue doing this.
All right, at this time, I'll open it for public hearing. Do we have any speakers?
No, Mr. Mayor.
At this time, we will close public hearing.
So it's we're requesting that you adopt resolution 2015-140 and confirming the boundary and assessment of Landscape Lighting District 93-1 and ordering the levy and a collection of assessment for fiscal years 2015-2016.
Okay.
And once this is done, then we're done for the year until next year.
So move. So motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion passes 5-0 vote. Move forward to item F1.
Okay, so in cooperative effort with the San Benito High School District, I met with the superintendent, John Perales, out on Monterey Street, adjacent to their administration building. And what he asked and what we discussed at length was initiating a parking restriction to help the high school keep their students and staff from parking along that area. It's became troublesome and problems for visitors to the high school to find a place to park. Recently, the high school has required all their staff and students to park in their parking lot, but still they do have a right to park there, and part-time teachers and other staff members could actually be there for a length of time that would make it difficult for visitors there. What we're asking with this item is to introduce an ordinance for that will initiate a 2-hour parking along Monterey Street, beginning about where the north side of Richardson is, and goes south all the way to the driveways that go into where their older gym is, and there's some ADA parking that we recently installed there. This parking is a 2-hour parking time. It's between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., and it would be Monday through Friday only. That will give the residents, people who want to have a party or a function at their house, the ability to park across the street, fronting the school, overnight or on the weekends as they see fit or as they would desire. So with that, the recommendation for the staff is to introduce this ordinance, and we'd bring it back at the next meeting for adoption.
If I can make one, and Dave was off when Dave, Chief Westrick and myself had a conversation about this. We left it on the agenda because we think it's important for us to move forward, but from a practical matter and an enforcement matter, what Dave and I talked about is actually going to 3-hour parking, and I apologize, Dave, that you weren't around. That's okay. That's on mine. So what we'd like is to read by title only, and with a motion to change section 1 AF to actually read the streets for 3-hour parking between the hours of 7 and 7 Monday through Friday. So I apologize for that.
Oh,
and that's just from a practical matter and
for the meter,
yes,
as we're doing
yes,
downtown.
Yes.
Do we
I
have?
apologize to Mr. Rubzik on that.
Not a problem. Do we have questions from council? Councilmember Luna?
Yeah, Dave, and this is west, it says west side of Monterey. It's not both sides of the street?
Just the one side. The other side of the street is
Residential.
parking, yes. The school's done a really good job towards the end of this last year getting their staff to park on site with their parking. They do acknowledge that they have too few parking spots now, and that they have been talking about adding additional parking spots for the people that would need to be able to park there. But if a resident were to park there for a 3-hour period, and say they're homesick and they're not able to move their car, then they would be subject to a ticket. So we're trying to make it reasonable for the residents, but also help the school enforce their parking regulations as well.
So
it is just on the west side.
Just on the west
Yes.
side. So that doesn't mean that they can go ahead and park on the other side of the street in front of the residents.
It doesn't mean that
It's
they
open.
can't do that. Yes, they can still do that.
Okay.
What I would like to do is do this first action and see if the school is successful in keeping people from inconveniencing the residences on across the way. If we're successful, then we don't need to take any other action. If there is a real problem, then we'll work with the residents to figure out what we can do to help them out. If we need to include the east side of Monterey, then we would take that action at a later date.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Clark?
Yeah, my thoughts are kind of along the same lines as Councilmember Luna, in that if I'm there for the day, I'm probably just going to park across the street. I do like this idea. I think it's maybe not quite a complete idea because it's just so easy to park on the other side of the street and then walk across. Really, the only way that I can see in the, I don't know, a couple minutes I've been thinking about it, is if eventually it goes to a residential parking pass. And that's a lot harder to monitor, but that's the only way that you're going to have people who live there actually parking there. And my concern is that we go ahead and pass this, which I think it's a good idea, and we probably should. But then if I'm in the administration department at the high school, I think, we got this taken care of now. I'm not going to send out my people to go monitor the streets and make sure the kids aren't out there anymore. And It's not a complete fix, but it's a step in the right direction, I guess, is what I'm saying.
And a lot of what I've heard, at the community meeting that the school had, 3 or 4 months ago, was that it's a lot of the people on the west side of the school, west side of the campus off of West Street. Those are the areas of big concern for the people having their parking taken up with the high school. We have yet to start the new school year. The school year, at the end of it, that's when they made the change, and immediately it made a big difference. So this is something to help the school, and we'll continue to work with John and the school district. And I've invited him to meet with me on a regular basis to discuss issues such as parking, and as we go step by step, eventually the issues will be worked out. This no parking, this limited parking area, it may be that it needs to be a much smaller area. It may be that it needs to be a much bigger area. But we got, like you said, we got to take the first step to go and make the changes. So once we're there, then we can keep making adjustments as necessary.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any speaker cards?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we read by title only and waive full reading the introduction of ordinance 1120 with the amendments to section 1 that says 3 hours instead of 2 hours.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Motion passes 5-0 vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Go to item F2.
Good evening. The applicant is requesting the City Council to authorize the initiation of the pre-zone of one parcel consisting of 9.82 acres of land as a prerequisite for future annexation to the City of Hollister. The site is located north of Buena Vista Road between Westside Boulevard and Almond Court, just west of the IOOF Cemetery as illustrated in the attachment that was provided to you. The project is within the sphere of influence of the City of Hollister and has the general plan land use designation of medium-density residential.
Thank you, Jill. This is for pre-zoning for annexation. Services do exist in the vicinity. Currently, there is a 12-inch sewer main, a 12-inch water main, and a 36-inch storm drain main along Westside Boulevard to the south of the project site. Pending your decision tonight to initiate the pre-zoning, staff will be able to process the pre-zone application and initiate an initial study for the environmental review of the site to identify any potential significant impacts. Staff will then schedule public hearings with the Planning Commission and eventually with the City Council for the pre-zoning of the property. With this, staff recommends that the City Council approve Resolution Number 2015-141 authorizing the initiation of pre-zone for the property before you. Any questions for staff?
Any question? Any speaker cards?
No, Mr. Mayor.
I don't have any questions, but I do want to say that I learned how to drive on West Side Road. Sorry, Chief, I don't know if that was the right thing to say. Not sure if it was legal, but I spent many years riding my bike out there, and it's kind of tough to see some of the stuff that's happening, especially growing up in that neighborhood. But anyway, I'm gonna sentimentally support this, even though it's kind of hard.
So are you saying they didn't wait long enough to develop it? Or?
My mom still lives there, but more than 500 feet away for disclosure reasons. But still, it's tough to see what's happening.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, was that Councilmember?
Councilmember Clower and Councilmember Gomez. This motion passes 5-0 vote. Thank you very much. Let's move forward to item G1, reports from City Council members regarding their committees. Councilmember Luna?
I have not attended any of the meetings.
Councilmember Friend?
No, I had no meetings.
No meeting.
Councilmember Gomez?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did attend COG, and we obviously we're still continuing to have discussions on Highway 25. We do have a working group that's looking at a possible, as everybody here has heard, a possible tax measure for transportation. And so the COG board did direct staff to come back with, in the next couple of months, with some ideas on how that tax measure would move forward, the quarter-cent or half-cent tax, and how it would potentially be allocated, what projects that would actually include, and what pieces of the pie would, and how that would be distributed to the cities. I think the city of Hollister, I think we're going to have that discussion at some point. I know that's kind of been on our agenda, and I'm hoping that we do have that discussion on how we're going to proceed in supporting something like that. But I think it's something that we're going to have to truly discuss. San Juan Bautista has 20% of the vote, yet has like 2% of the population of the county. They have 20% of the vote on COG, and with all due respect to San Juan Bautista, that's ridiculous. So we need to have a discussion here on how we're going to move forward with that this upcoming year. We have a lot of interest from folks. I drive Highway 25 every single day, and today it took me longer to get from Gilroy to Hollister than it did from San Jose to Gilroy. So it's a discussion that we're going to have. I drove 15 miles an hour between Gilroy and Hollister today. So we need to continue to have that discussion. But the working group will be coming back with some recommendations in the next couple of months on how we're going to move forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Clower?
Yes, I attended a couple meetings, and I do appreciate the opportunity because some of these committees that I'm a backup on are a lot more interesting than some of the other ones that I do sit on as a permanent member. So the first one that I attended was the Fire Committee, and Chief Geringer spoke about the adjustment to the reserve pay scale and some of the other items that had to do with the fire contract. Not too much happened at that meeting. The second meeting was the intergovernmental meeting, and I got to jump on a soapbox here a little bit. I was very disappointed because there was no quorum. And it's unfortunate, but it seems that staff and the electeds are okay with that happening, which I think is an absolute joke because I don't think my time's more important than anybody else, but everybody's time's important. And there was about 15 people who were at that meeting, mostly staff members, who could have been doing something else better with their time. And we had people from the council who weren't there, and I understood that, but we also had people from the county who weren't there, and I think the worst part was that the fire committee meets before the intergovernmental. The county supervisors that are on both of those meetings, attend both those meetings, aren't the same. So we had 2 county supervisors at the first meeting who left, and then none showed up for the second meeting. Not trying to point fingers or anything, but it seems like it'd be pretty easy for someone to text somebody or find out that they're not going to be there when the people are already here in the chambers. To me, it's kind of an elementary idea that if you're supposed to be somewhere, you'll be somewhere. And if you're not going to be somewhere, you'll tell them that you're not going to be there. That way we don't have to sit around for 20 minutes. And I've probably gone on a little too long about this, but it kind of made me mad. And we have a job to do, and if you can't be there, let somebody else know so that they can be there. Because the people who are the backups want to be at these things and learn and get in the middle of these things and make some good decisions. So if any other electeds are out there, let your backups know so that we can have these meetings. Because like intergovernmental, I've been there 2 times in a row, and they're very interesting, and I wish more people from the public would go, but we can't have them if the electeds don't show up. That's it.
Thank you for taking my spot.
Wait a second, he took my spot.
Oh, my God.
I think, appreciate it, Councilmember Clower jumped on there and covered for us, but, you know, I think what happened here in July is everybody, a lot of the members assumed that was, that meeting was canceled, and I think this upcoming year, we need to be a little more clear on that July, that first meeting in July seems to be an issue for all of us, so. But thank you, Mr. Clower, for being there on those two committees, and you're right, those are very, very important committees. I was not able to make it, and Councilman Clower did cover for us, so thank you again. G2, it's not G4, G2, right? Okay. Those were multiplying things in invisible ink. All right, informational reports from City Council. Councilmember Luna?
Yes, thank you. I attended the League of California Cities in Monterey. I attended there for 2 days, went there and came back, and then went there again the next day. And I can tell you that it was very interesting. There was just a lot of cities represented, a lot of good workshops, and I know that I saw Victor there, and and so it was very nice, very interesting, because it gives us the opportunity to network with other cities and counties, and so I really enjoyed it, learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Friend.
Yeah, I just have one item kind of to continue on where Billy was going with the rally support. Over the 4th of July weekend, the veterans in San Benito County were fortunate enough to get the Vietnam Memorial Wall, traveling wall, and I want to thank the city for all the cooperation they had, both in, and I wish some of the SEIU people had stayed here because they busted their butt for us, and they did a hell of a job out there, both helping us put that thing together, keeping the park nice and clean. We used the whole park eventually and had exhibits everywhere along the park, and it was really appreciated by the veterans of the county. So I would just want to make sure the county knows that. And to everybody in the county, thank you for coming out. And I see another partner sitting in the audience that a lot of people spent a lot of time out there, but it was very enjoyable to take people and show them if they needed help finding their relatives or friends or whatever it was on the wall. So just thank you to the city for all their support. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Gomez?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things, ditto on what Councilmember Luna said. And I actually hadn't attended a League of Cities event for a number of years. It's been a long time. I think we took it off the budget, and I just didn't want to request it. And I think it must have been like 5 years or so since the last time I attended a League event, a League conference, excuse me. So it was nice. We had some pretty excellent speakers, especially we had a speaker come from Texas, I believe it was, Mickey. I'm saying Mickey because it seems like every speaker knew Mickey, and she was very popular at the conference. But it was definitely an educational event, a good opportunity to go as a city elected official, and we learned quite a bit. So that was a good investment. This is kind of, I don't know if it goes along with what Councilmember Clower was saying earlier, but I had this discussion with the mayor, and I'm trying not to be biased here. July, in my job in the city of San Jose, my boss, the council member there, and the rest of the council doesn't have anything in July. It's a recess. So we take a legislative recess, no committees, no council meetings, and that's kind of nice after living my life in a cubicle for 6 months. So my recommendation next year would be to cancel both meetings in July and cancel all committee meetings in July. So you think I'm joking? I'm 100%.
Can we make a motion right now about that?
Please do it right now.
And I'm trying not to be biased because I get the whole month of July off from my job in San Jose. So I'd like to actually have it off in my second job. That's going to be my recommendation, and I hope we could do that starting next year.
I think that should be on the agenda.
That's on the agenda for next meeting, right? Okay, please.
I think you have a consensus there. The other thing I wanted to bring up was Nash Road. I was one of the no votes regarding the Nash Road temporary closure that was brought up multiple times over the past couple of months. I have some suggestions that could lead me to vote yes. I've shared some of those suggestions with our city manager, and right now isn't the appropriate time for me to mention those in front of my colleagues, but I will mention those when it's re-agendized, and I would like to ask for that item to be re-agendized on August 17th, if that's okay with the rest of the board. And I think that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McClower?
Yes. Okay. So I'm sure the rest of the council has been receiving lots of emails about CMAP and the low frequency FM station. It seems like we've probably gotten 15 or 20 in the last month. And I personally think it's a great opportunity for us to have a radio station here in Hollister, whether it's for community purposes or just for emergency purposes. I think it's very important that we do have that. I don't know where we go as a council in support of that, and it seems like it's very time sensitive. At least that's what I was getting from the emails. I don't know if we have a consensus that we support it or it needs to be agendized and there's some kind of motion or whatever it may be, but I think it's something that we should look at. And then my only other thing that I'd like to say is that as usual, I've been really impressed by the planning department. Jill and Abraham have been very helpful with a lot of my questions, and they're very prompt and thorough, so good job there.
I have a comment on what he's talking about.
The antenna for the CMAP
radio thing.
Go ahead.
Well, and I just want to let him know, I've also been talking to him a lot, and I found out that actually the council did approve that.
Right.
And approved the permission to use the hill. It just got dropped between the cracks, and then CMAC decided they weren't going to back it. And now, from what I understand, they're back on board, and they're gonna back it. So the community foundation is going to support it and fund it. So I think the issue now is which tower and which company gives them permission to use the tower, right? So I think we're moving forward on that. So
good.
I think it's important that the council, and we brought it up and we're supportive of it, because I agree. I think even if it's just for mostly emergency stuff, it would just be nice to have that out there. There's a fire or somewhere, there's whatever. But it'd be nice to have some local entertainment too on that, news and stuff. So I think it's a great idea. I would support it, and I'll help them out any way I can. So I don't know where we have to go now to find out. Well, I think we have a board of directors, or a person that's on the board of directors that works for the city, right?
Yeah. I believe Paul is still a board member, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, and I think I'll talk to Paul again and see if he can get some more information about what the status is.
Because the way I understand it, if CMAP was going to back out, then they were going to run out of time. But now that CVAC is back into it, they've got a little bit of time.
They got an extension? Okay.
Before the FCC pulls their license.
I think what we could do is put it onto the agenda, see what they need, what help they need, make sure everything's covered for them.
I think with
get that done.
You know, my recollection, sorry to take, but we had a lease agreement ready to go, and I don't know what exact tower that they were going to use, if they were going to actually attach it to the safety tower or not, but we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody involved with the rally all of our staff here, the police department. Saw Chief out there, and I saw Bill running around. I saw everyone running around. And I have to say, this is the first year I've seen such a positive atmosphere out there in several years. A lot of people having a really good time in a positive way. The veterans, for all they did, it was really a special moment to go visit the Vietnam Memorial Wall at Dunn Park and see that. It's very important. I wish more of the community had a chance or time to go see that. That was very special. So I have to thank the veterans for putting that together and for all they did. The raffling of the motorcycle out there to raise money. Unfortunately, it went to somebody from Oregon, but it's a different story. But they did a great job, and I really, Bill, I know you were a very big part of this rally, and the promoter. I can't thank the promoter enough, the new promoter we have, for really putting on an excellent event. And I want to thank Councilmember Friend for staying with the rally and doing everything you've done to make that thing turn around and come out in such a positive way.
Next year I will be in Lake Tahoe. That way.
Me too.
Darn it! So I was planning on going. I think I'm getting a little too old for it now. My body hurt after this rally. July comes around, and as Councilmember Gomez says, it's tough on us. Before that rally, the week and a half before it, all my time's taken. A couple weeks after, all my time's taken. So I need July off. And thank you, Councilmember Gomez, for bringing that idea forward, because it's just very difficult on all of us in July. So want to make sure we follow up on that. The fireworks, as we all know, have gotten out of control. We did do our part here at the city. We tried to get the message out to the public, and we're asking for the public to help us. If we can't have the public just point the finger back at the city and refuse to point out who's doing it. It's not going to stop until the public helps us. And it was disappointing to, unfortunately, have the incident finally happen that we were all so concerned about happening, and that's somebody getting hurt. And what was really disappointing about that part was those same people that were absolutely against fireworks were all of a sudden protecting people that they felt didn't mean to hurt anybody. And it's as Mr. Richmond pointed out, you can die doing this. And we have to understand that. We're going to have to find a way to be more aggressive this next year. We don't want to fine anyone. That's not our goal as a city. We just don't want people to die or lose their homes because of fireworks, illegal fireworks. Please stop doing it. And I know we're going to have a better solution this year. And it's fair warning to everybody. Just knock it off. Your kids and your home are more important than fireworks that go up in the air. Use the safe and sane fireworks. Help our nonprofit groups. They are safe. But please stop using the other illegal fireworks. And thank you, Chief. I know that was a tough week for you and the police department and fire department, trying to keep everything aligned that week. So it's very tough. So thank you again. That's all I have.
Move for adjournment.
Well, let me go through H. City manager. We're running late. City manager.
I'll just make it real quick. Again, thank you to Chief and actually Council and everybody that was involved in the rally. I think Chief provided you with some detailed statistics about arrests and whatnot. And although it was a little bit quieter, but there were more arrests. So it's just the type of crimes that were being committed. I think that were just a little bit different this year, and it did seem like everybody was having a really good time. Also want to thank the HDA for this last weekend's event. The street festival, I think, was it was a really good event. There's cars, a good car show, a nice turnout. Again, thank you to our parks and staff, because it's all them setting up at the end of the day and tearing down when everybody's gone home and tired. Recruitment, just a quick update. We I want to congratulate Bob Martin Del Campo, our new chief. Will be starting here on August 1st. He'll be sworn in at the fire station August 3rd. Chief Geringer will be probably available and on staff until I believe we decided about August 7th, and then he will be departing, and we'll have another retirement party for him. And then we had two interviews late last week. The city clerk and the development services director interviews took place. I will be interviewing, I think, everybody on Wednesday, and hopefully we'll have a decision for those positions here shortly. And the human resource manager position is still out there. If there's anybody that anybody knows that's a professional in that particular field, please have them contact me, Brett. We can get them in touch with Bob Murray and Associates and go through the channels. That way, we're going to probably open that back up for a little bit longer to see if we can find additional qualified candidates. With that, that's it for me. Thank
That's
you.
for human resources.
Human resource manager, yes.
So I do have one question.
Sure.
Who won the chili cook-off?
Okay, so apparently Victor and
Motion to adjourn.
Victor and Mickey have no taste buds left.
I know I voted for our fire department, and it was an easy choice for me. It really was.
Really.
So-
So the people's choice actually was Hollister Fire. So that's probably what matters. We ended up with a tie. They actually had a race going up the rock wall to determine who the winner was between the sheriff's department and was it Cal Fire, I think, and Cal Fire ended up winning. So, but it was a good time. That was a lot of fun. So.
Wait, Cal Fire won the chili cook-off?
Yeah.
And apparently, Councilmember Luna and I have been fired.
Yeah, they were unable to select Hollister's finest chili. I do, before I pass it on to Soren, I am looking at having a study session with the council probably sometime in early August to discuss some big contracts. One, fire contracts for both San Juan and the city of, the county of San Benito. There is the veterans contract for Veterans Memorial Hall that expired on June 30th. And then also there is a couple of contracts that have ended or expired with the school district. So I just want to try to, I don't know if we'll have time to do all of them, but I think they're all very important. They're contracts that are, the school districts have been around a while for the joint use facility type stuff, but I think it's important that we're all on the same page as we move forward with going to those respective groups. So
Excellent.
Now I'll pass it on.
Thank you. Chief? Oh, City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to report at this time.
Chief?
Not much. July 29th, we'll have a rally wrap-up meeting with all the cast. It was very busy, busiest Saturday I've seen in a long time, actually. And I think I've been to pretty much all of them. So it was pretty packed. I'll save my critique for the 29th. But yeah, he was right. We did have a few more arrests, but sort of different flavor this year. It was a nice event for us, but it was busy. Junior Giants is actually wrapping up in the next 3 weeks, so we'll have a full season done in 3 weeks. That's over 500 kids of our community that were affected. I think we did a numbers on that. It's about $41,000 of donated time, equipment from the Giants Foundation, which is really nice, especially because it's the Giants and Dodgers don't do that anyway. I'm just saying. I also think that it's important that I think we've done a really good job this year as far as the PAL, the first kind of year of PAL has been involved with us. We do plan on doing another season of tennis in the fall, and I think there's a possibility of us all to also do some wrestling as well. So those are the things that we'll probably talk about as they come a little bit closer. But I'm pretty happy with success right now of PAL right now, and really that togetherness with recreation. It sounds like we're going to have another position open that we're going to hire for real soon for recreation. So it sounds like we'll have a little more of that going on. They definitely need it. There's only two full-time employees, I think, in the department, so it's pretty impacted with 500 and something kids. And the other last thing is I would encourage council members that are assigned to the gang policy committee to please go to it. We have a number of things coming this year that are going to be really important for the city of Hollister. One is we should hear in the next 3 or 4 weeks about the third SRO grant from the feds. That's important that we have that because that will allow us to do that kind of intervention at the high school, the same stuff we're doing at the elementary schools as well. I've sort of committed that we're all going to have the same training, but the high school person will have more of the drug recognition stuff. The elementary school will be more of the great stuff. So I think it's important that the city of Hollister have representation on that committee so we know exactly where our folks are going. We also are going to reassign a new gang officer this year. So it's important stuff if you want to know what we're doing there specifically. I would also encourage the person who, I think Ray, you're the assigned the PD liaison from the council. I would encourage Ray to come down at least quarterly to see what we're trying to do here. We've hired and filled our positions this year, and we're right now in training about, I think we're training about 4 or 5 people right now. So we're going to have some pretty cool things and abilities in the next couple months that we haven't had in several years. So we'll see how that plays out. But what I'm looking for is, we went over in 2014-15 in our overtime, and theoretically what I'm thinking is that with our positions filled, that should level off. That's kind of what we're trying to do, is trying to lower that spending to where we're leveled off in overtime, so it's a real number. So anyway, thank you very much.
I want to add your junior giants. We had twice as many sign up here than Salinas had.
Yes.
In their community. So people know how big of a deal it became here.
And Seaside, who's been around for a long time, we were twice as many as well.
Yeah,
there.
congratulations on the success on that.
Thank you.
Interim City Clerk.
I have nothing to report.
All right, then.
Can I digress for 1 second?
You can.
Last
We all
Friday,
have.
Last Friday, we had our first little movies in the park at Dunn Park. It was a fairly successful event. The council adopted a street closure for August 7th. The movie's going to be Goonies. I guess we're going for it. And so it's, again, August 7th at Dunn Park. Bring your kids and family and enjoy the movie. Okay.
Excellent. Okay, HIJK, no business. Is there a motion?
Adjournment?
Okay, there's a motion.
Second.
There's a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0 vote. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight.